Welcome everybody. Hi, it's Kirby James from the GYST Method, and today, as always, I am joined by
Nicole Girouard from the GYST Method. And in today's episode, we wanted to sort of springboard off of a discussion we were having about how to recognize a GYST moment in your business, and specifically how to recognize when you're up against a GYST moment. And the example that we want to talk about is something that Kirby was sharing about one of the clients, and that was falling short in the business and what to do about it. Yeah,
so the case was in a highly competitive industry. This was related to the insurance industry. Lots of players in this particular niche. Everybody had a small percentage of the market. Nobody was really doing much. And the president at the time, she had this insight. And the insight was, if realized, could lead to a tripling or a quadrupling of the market share for this, very sort of small to medium-sized company. And that was really the initiation. But the GYST moment evolved out of that experience.
How did she get to that point, though?
That's a great question. Really, I think part of it was the way her comp was organized, quite frankly.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
That'll
do it.
And she was looking at, okay, so how can I increase? Because they were just running along, and there really was just fluctuations in their revenue and their market share, and nothing much was happening. And so she turned her mind to, so what would it take to lift this up a significant notch? And what she landed on in that business, so this was third-party medicals.
Okay.
And the insurers wanted to know whether, like, if I was in a car accident, they want to know whether or not I'm should be insured.
Got it.
And the big thing in the industry turned out to be time.
What do you mean?
How long they take.
How long the medicals take?
How long the process from there's an injury, there's a notice of claim, the insurance company says you got to go for a medical assessment. Oh, it's complicated. You have to go for more medical. Like that whole process, and then all the information comes back. This company actually compiled and would say, oh, so Kirby's a complex case, and this is our understanding of what everybody said. To simplify it for the insurer, so the insurer could say, oh, okay, we compensate Kirby.
Okay, got it.
Okay, that was the idea.
Yeah.
And her breakthrough, brainchild was, I wonder if it could go faster if the insurance companies would like that.
No.
And so, and to her credit, she dove into the economics. And the economics was the benefit to the patient, to the injured party.
Absolutely.
Because they're sitting in limbo, and they would get like a certain amount. But if they weren't entitled, then they had to recoup the money. And so that was not a trivial number. And so the insurance companies are like, you can do it faster? Oh, we'd really like that.
Yeah.
So that was the origin.
Okay.
And that's what that was her personal GYST moment, was just like, wow, could we do this? And then turned to her team of experts and started the conversation about, so can we do that?
Right.
And basically what came back was, and that was about, they did their best, but they couldn't have a breakthrough idea because the industry had never tried to really do this before.
Okay, so then what I'm hearing then is that one of the decision makers or somebody on the team has this incredible insight on how to make things better, and then all of a sudden gets hit with, well, we haven't done it this way before, no one else does it this way, and this is how it's set up, and but.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. It was the buts.
Got it.
Exactly, because but, that's a great idea, but, reality sucks.
12 years ago, when we did that, then we can't do this, and we don't have that.
And we tried that before, and,
Got it.
Okay, so that's what led her to come to me.
Okay.
We'd worked together before, and the question came, can you help us have a breakthrough? We see massive market potential. We don't see how to capitalize on that potential. We don't know what to do,
but we know it's possible.
We know she believed it was possible, and also there was the whisper on the side, which is to say, and here's the people I see who are advocates. Here are the people who I see who are, if you will, neutral.
Yeah.
And here are the opponents.
Yeah.
And the GYST style process that was dropped on them wasn't culture, because the culture of the business was going to need to evolve, but they didn't know what they were evolving to because they couldn't see it operationally.
Yeah.
What they needed was to re-engineer the basic rules of their business so they could actually deliver something substantially faster than their competitors.
I think it's interesting that you pointed that out, because while we've talked about culture a lot, well, I think in this instance, in this example, while it's important to recognize that you want to maintain the good culture that you have, which is a different approach to fixing or improving a culture. Like if you've got a great team and there's just because you have to remember, a lot of times the people that are on the oh my God side, because they can't see the other end, they're not neutral, they're not on board, they're the I don't know group. It's just because some people can't picture what's not in front of them. They need to see the thing.
And it doesn't mean they're not a good fit for the culture.
That's where I'm going to.
Right.
Communicate differently.
It's really important not to look at everything like it's a cultural problem, because then the only solution you've got is the culture hammer. And that's just not real.
Yes.
The culture ended up having to evolve. The really big thing that happened here was, our discipline is not, we look at culture, we look at the people, we look at the structures, but we're also intensely analytic.
Yeah.
And the analytics was actually where the breakthrough came from.
Okay, how so?
What evolved, and her team did the work, and it was brilliant work, was to really lay on the table exactly how long everything took.
Okay, how did they do that though? Because a lot of people go, oh, we think it takes this long.
Right.
Did they actually see how long it took?
Yeah, and that, to their credit, they had enough data, and this goes back to the insurers, because the clock starts ticking. So the day that Kirby gets injured and files his claim, there's like a to the second point of reference.
Okay.
And so they, the insurer will say, yo, it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
Could you tell me if this guy's to be compensated or not?
Yeah.
So they know. Everybody knew.
Okay.
And her assertion, I think, was part inspiration, part optimism, was they could reduce the time from beginning to end by almost 75%. And the argument was there was enough insurers, and they had talked to them on the side, if we could get you the answer 75% faster, would you value it? And then talking to insurers they didn't have as much business with, would we get more of your business if we could do that? And the answer was hell yeah.
You just said something that is, I don't want to lose sight of it. The organization took the time to ask if it was of value. Now, on the surface, this example of let's go faster and it's going to have all these wonderful benefits like the monetization side, our revenue side, speed, patients are happy, etc. That's great. But your gut might say, yeah, this is a great idea, but then end up that the important players that are actually paying for this are like, we don't care.
Right.
So it's 10 minutes faster. It's 14 days fast. So what?
So what?
So don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time at all. And this is a really big idea in the world of lean, which is what's referred to as overproduction, which is producing something faster than anybody wants it and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right? So you blew your brains out and spent all that money.
Well, and it's supply chain too. I mean, if you think about just-in-time production, just because I can give you 75 widgets faster than you can grab, the pile's just going to keep piling up because they each bottleneck. So there's no point in going faster back here.
The nice thing in this example was the insurers, because they're motivated by the cost side of the equation, very quickly could see the benefit to them.
Nice.
What was really the powerful GYST experience for people was unleashing their creative potential, but doing it within a construct. And so we knew that there was going to be IT implications, staffing and HR implications. All of that stuff was a known consequence of what we were looking to build. What we didn't know was whether or not it could be done.
Sure.
And there was even legal ramifications because they had contracts with doctors. One of the so the design exercise, which is something that you and I have done, is so much fun, is we broke them into multidisciplinary teams, gave them targets to achieve, and they had to be accountable for the math.
Nice.
So when they were talking about their new design, it's like, prove to us the math works, that you can hit this time target. The other thing we gave them was constraints.
Great.
The things that, the rules that can be bent and the rules that can't be broken, and said, great. And then what we did was we physically separated the teams.
Okay.
Send them to rooms so they couldn't.
We talked about this before.
Right. And we wouldn't let them peek in on each other, nothing. And we gave them an artificially short amount of time.
Ooh, I love that. I love that, because otherwise the amount of time you have, you're going to fill it.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we gave them was what we felt was enough time, but they would probably be uncomfortable.
Excellent.
And so what happened was these teams went and they did their best, and then as monitoring these exercises as we do, went back and either had to push them, where's the data, where's the math, okay, how can that do this, that doesn't make any sense, and make sure that they were logically solid, to make sure that they were mathematically sound. And when we got to the debrief, the most astounding thing happened.
Okay.
80% of everybody's design was exactly the same.
I could have said that before you said it. Because you all work together, you're all intelligent people, you know the space. There's a high likelihood that there's going to be some foundational thread of similarity with everybody, or agreement.
Yeah, the crazy stuff was the CEO trying to get them to come up with this answer. There wasn't a consensus to get it to say it could be done. Wow. And yet they came up 80% aligned on exactly what it was going to take, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
What that meant then when we came back the next day was we spent all of our time on the 20%.
Right.
And in that process, created an environment where it was safe to discuss these, some of which were wild, crazy, almost, did you go into a cave with bad bats kind of stuff. But we created a construct where it was safe to hang it out there. And it's actually some of the wildest ideas that turned out to be the secret sauce.
Yeah, and it's not surprising when we see that, though, because oftentimes something that seems so unrealistic, that's just bananas crazy, there's something in that idea that you can pull on. I mean, we're going to Mars.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
We thought we were going to do that. The prevalence of electric cars now, 15, 20 years ago, there's no way.
It'll never happen. I read a Scientific American article that said, oh no, electric cars, it'll be the hydrogen cars or whatever. Yeah. It's like, and BFR is in test as we talk. So it was really interesting because the big mental block they had created as an organization was actually the legal contracts between them and the medical experts.
Okay.
And you can't touch those. You can't say go faster or we won't pay you as much, or we'll pay you more if you go faster. Oh no, you can't do that. Well, they did.
See, I was just going to say, the amount of time I spent in the Canadian medical industry, physicians are business owners. If you're realistic and it's something they can actually do and there's a benefit, they'll do it.
And what ended up happening was their target was to go 75% faster than the marketplace, and their forecast was that they would quadruple their market share.
And
they didn't quite hit 75% faster all the time, but they reached, I think, slightly more than 3 times an increase in their market share.
Which is way more than they would have done had they done nothing.
Think about that.
Yeah.
A 300% increase in market share, and transforming an industry that had become really kind of like lazy, if you will. No one pushing the boundaries.
Yes.
And for me, there's to sum this up, there was a series of GYST moments that went along. There's the one that the president CEO had that created the core of this idea.
Yeah, her vision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there was the realization that her people on their own didn't have the answer. They didn't need us to do it. What they needed was a spark. They needed something to help them GYST themselves.
Yeah.
And release what was already there.
Yeah.
as it came out the other side, there was a whole bunch of GYST moments. So, her VP of Ops, brilliant guy, Ryan, he did a great job. He's like, oh, I see it this way, elevated the game.
Yeah.
A week later, we're talking about the design of the implementation plan. It's like, okay, wow, we've got to get a team of lawyers all over. We've got to do this, we've got to do that. And it just went bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
And in no time at all, literally, and this was in the 3 weeks before Christmas.
Awesome.
They went from business normal to we are sitting on a gold mine.
Yep.
Yes, it took them time to implement. Yes, their culture had to shift.
Sure.
But it was the courage to have a GYST moment, that leader to let herself have it. And then the next level of courage, which was to say, I think my people are wonderful and they need some help.
And they can do it.
And they can do it after the fact.
Yes.
They just need a coach, a Sherpa, call it whatever you want, to get us to realize potential we're leaving on the table.
And now that has been done, how are they doing now?
The company is doing well. The president very happily took her earnings and has moved on to other things in life.
But the business is sustainable. It's
still
doing well. They're still leading.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, they got so good, they got bought out by a much bigger firm at a much bigger price.
What's incredible about that is just having that vision and, like you said, the GYST moment of, I think this could actually happen.
Yeah.
Not only did she create that progression for the organization, but she left a legacy.
Absolutely.
So strong that I'm assuming competitor, because if you're buying someone in your space, they see you as competition, bought you up.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And bought you at a much, much higher premium. And
yeah.
Anybody who's got shares, they did well. Everything about this turns out to be great. Yes, there can be implications.
Yeah, of course.
For people in roles, and that's the world of business, and it happens.
Yep.
Yet, doing as well as they did, they can afford to properly compensate people and who have now gone on to do great things. And I know a number of the tier 2 people that I worked with that have gone on. One is the president of another organization. Another's the president of another organization. Yep. This one guy I mentioned, Ryan, has gone on to be an entrepreneur after a couple of other roles and started up his own. People are fine.
It's funny how resilient you become to change once you're put through something like that in an organized and systematic fashion. I'm not saying flip the tables and there's chaos and that's how you become resilient. But they clearly gained from that experience the resilience to take on a little bit more than they did before. And the outcome for everybody was positive. That's fantastic. I love that. The
way I really see it is, you and I talk about GYST all the time because it's what we're about. It's what we do.
It's just what we do.
It's just what we do. And it's this, we've written and talked about this before, but this idea that, saying to somebody, get your shit together, is like a bad thing or a mean thing.
Yeah.
It's more, the way we see it is, oh, wow, you are capable of so much more.
Yes.
And if you could just see what we see or see what somebody else sees and actually really do it, not only do good things come from it organizationally, the people, to your point, on the other side of it have greater confidence that they can.
Yes. Yes. You literally just said it. It's the confidence that what I just achieved that. We just did this. We can do anything. What's next? I'm not scared to try.
And everybody gets to that point, but really that's our goal, is to help individuals and organizations go through those moments so that they realize what they're capable of.
Yeah. It's positive for us, super positive for us. Thank you for sharing that. I think that was really helpful. And I do hope that if there's an organization or a leader sitting out there today watching us, that what they take from this is that you might have a small kernel, gut feeling, vision, and you might feel a little apprehensive about taking that step. But just like anything else that's worth it in life and in business, if you take if you build up that courage to take that step forward and see what's possible, you just might do it. You might not only just do it, you might blast past what you thought was possible and something incredible was created.
Absolutely. And we encourage you to do that. And that's actually one of the things that we love most, is just these random calls that arise out of these meetings and sessions and videos that we do. And somebody says, hey, I got an idea. We'll sign an NDA in a heartbeat and hear you out. And it's like, we'll give you the honest truth. And we're delighted to do so.
Yeah.
So I'm Kirby James from the GYST Method. Nicole, I want to thank you very much as always. It was a lot of fun.
Excellent.
So
See you next time, guys.
Look forward to it.